I had always lived a life of solitude. My parents were gone, leaving me to fend for myself in a world that never paused for anyone. My boss was strict, my job was exhausting, and every night I returned to my small, dimly lit room with barely enough to survive. One evening, after a long day, I made 4 chapatis and a simple vegetable curry. As I washed my hands, a peculiar sensation crept over me, like I was being watched. When I turned back, 1 chapati had vanished. My heart pounded. Was I imagining things, or was someone here? The next night, I kept my eyes sharp. I cooked the same meal, making sure no one could possibly enter my room. Yet, as I looked away for just a moment, another chapati disappeared. My skin prickled with unease. This was no coincidence. By the 3rd night, I had made up my mind. I would catch the thief. I stayed awake, pretending to sleep, my eyes barely shut. Then I heard a soft, scuffling sound. Holding my breath, I sprang forward and grabbed the culprit, a fat, scruffy-looking mouse. But then the impossible happened. It spoke. "Brother, why are you stopping me?" the mouse said, its tiny black eyes gleaming in the candlelight. My grip loosened in shock. A talking mouse? Was I losing my sanity? "I take only what fate has assigned me," it continued. "Please, let me have my share." My stomach twisted in disbelief. I could barely feed myself, and yet this creature spoke of fate. "I struggle to survive," I replied bitterly. "How is it fair that you steal from me?" The mouse twitched its whiskers knowingly. "I know someone who can change your fate, a wise sage, Gautam Buddha." I stared at the mouse, my thoughts a whirlwind. "Gautam Buddha?" I echoed. "How would he help me?" The mouse tilted its head. "He has answers to all your questions. If you seek wisdom, go to his ashram." My hunger and fatigue screamed at me to ignore this nonsense, but something deep inside urged me to listen. What if this was the sign I had been waiting for? With a determined breath, I made my choice. I packed a small bag, took leave from work, and embarked on a journey that would change my life forever. The first night of my journey was cold and lonely. The road stretched ahead, endless and uncertain. Just as exhaustion began to take over, I spotted a grand mansion in the distance. My feet ached, my throat was dry, but I pushed forward. A kind-looking man stood at the gate. "Where are you headed, son?" he asked. I hesitated, then told him my mission. His eyes widened. "You're seeking Gautam Buddha? That's wonderful, but I have a question for him." "My daughter hasn't spoken in 20 years. Ask him when she will speak again." I nodded, promising to help. The next day, my journey became treacherous. The landscape shifted into snowy mountains, their peaks cutting through the sky like jagged knives. I shivered, wrapping my arms around myself. The path ahead was impossible. Deep, icy chasms stretched endlessly. Then I spotted a figure. A man, draped in tattered robes, sat cross-legged in the snow, his eyes closed in deep meditation. "Where are you going?" he asked, without opening his eyes. I explained my quest. He exhaled slowly. "Ask Buddha when I will ascend to heaven. I have meditated for 1,000 years, yet my soul remains bound." His words sent a chill down my spine. 1,000 years? Was this man even human? Still, I promised to ask. With a flick of his hand, he conjured a gust of wind that lifted me over the deadly crevices. My feet landed safely on the other side, but my mind was in turmoil. Was I stepping deeper into a world beyond my comprehension? Before I could process my thoughts, I reached the banks of a colossal river. The waters churned violently, an unending abyss of darkness. I had no way to cross, until something massive stirred beneath the surface. A monstrous, ancient tortoise emerged, its shell covered in moss, its eyes glowing with wisdom. "Where are you headed, traveler?" it rumbled, its voice like distant thunder. I told it my purpose. "I have spent 500 years in this river, waiting to transform into a dragon," it said solemnly. "But my time never comes. Ask Buddha. When will I become what I was meant to be?" The weight of the 3 questions pressed heavily on my shoulders. Nevertheless, I agreed. The tortoise lowered itself, and I stepped onto its shell, gripping tightly as it carried me across the waters. Finally, after an exhausting journey, I reached the ashram of Gautam Buddha. The air was thick with the scent of incense, and the sound of gentle chants filled the sacred space. I knelt before him, feeling the immense weight of wisdom in his presence. But then, I was struck by an alarming realization. Buddha would only answer 3 questions. My stomach tightened. I had 4. The mansion owner's daughter, the meditating sage, the ancient tortoise. And my own question, the one that had driven me here. I swallowed hard. I had a choice to make, one that would change everything. My mind raced, my struggles, my loneliness, the unanswered questions of my life. They all boiled down to this moment. But what kind of person would I be if I ignored those who had helped me? My fingers clenched into fists. I had to sacrifice my own curiosity. Taking a deep breath, I asked Buddha the 3 questions, leaving mine unspoken. Buddha's calm gaze met mine as he answered. The girl will speak when she marries. The sage will ascend to heaven when he releases his staff. The tortoise will become a dragon when he sheds his shell. My fate was sealed. With Buddha's words imprinted in my mind, I bowed respectfully and began my journey home. My heart pounded as I retraced my steps, eager to see how the answers would change the lives of those I had met. The first stop was the river. The ancient tortoise, still submerged, lifted its massive head. "Did you ask?" it rumbled. I inhaled deeply. Buddha said you will become a dragon when you shed your shell. Silence hung between us. Then, with a slow nod, the tortoise closed its eyes and began peeling away its ancient armor. A surge of power rippled through the air. As the last fragment of its shell fell into the water, the tortoise's form twisted and expanded. Scales shimmered, horns emerged, and powerful wings unfurled. With a deafening roar, the creature, no longer a tortoise but a mighty dragon, ascended into the stormy skies. My breath caught as pearls rained down from where it had once stood, glistening like drops of moonlight. A gift. My fingers trembled as I scooped them up. This journey had already given me more than I had ever owned, yet something deeper inside urged me forward. My next destination awaited, the meditating sage. Climbing the treacherous mountain once more, I found the sage exactly where I had left him, motionless in the cold. His presence seemed otherworldly, his eyes closed as if he had been frozen in time. I approached with caution. "Buddha has spoken," I said softly. "He says you will ascend to heaven when you release your staff." The man's fingers twitched around the wooden stick he had held for centuries. A shadow of doubt flickered in his expression. His lips parted slightly, as if questioning whether to let go. I waited, feeling the weight of eternity in that single moment. Finally, his grip loosened. The staff tumbled from his hands and struck the icy ground. The air vibrated with energy. A golden glow enveloped his frail form, lifting him effortlessly into the sky. His expression was one of pure peace, his years of meditation finally rewarded. I watched in awe as his spirit faded into the heavens, leaving the staff behind. Unsure of its significance, I hesitated before picking it up. The wood pulsed beneath my fingers, brimming with unseen power. First pearls, now this staff. Fate was weaving something beyond my understanding. Only one stop remained, the grand mansion. Arriving at the mansion's gates, my nerves tensed. Would the girl truly speak? The owner rushed to greet me, desperation in his eyes. "Did you ask?" he pleaded. I nodded. "Buddha said she will speak on the day of her marriage." A heavy silence settled over us. Then the man's face lit up. "Then there's no better match than you," he declared. My stomach twisted. Marry her? I had never dreamed of such a fate. But before I could respond, I was ushered inside, where preparations began at once. The pearls and staff I carried only fueled their excitement. The wedding was a blur, a grand affair with music, laughter, and celebration. My mind raced with uncertainty. Would she truly speak? As the final vows were spoken and the ceremony ended, I turned to her. She gazed at me with eyes full of emotion. Then her lips parted, and in a voice both gentle and haunting, she whispered, "You are the one who came to our house that night." A chill raced down my spine, her first words in 20 years, yet they held a weight I couldn't comprehend. My pulse quickened. How did she know me? What did she mean? The guests gasped, but I was frozen, trying to grasp the meaning behind her words. "How do you know me?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Her expression softened, yet an air of mystery lingered. "Fate is not as blind as we think," she said. "Some paths are chosen for us before we even begin walking them." My thoughts reeled. Had this all been destined? My encounter with the mouse, my journey, the answers I delivered, had everything been leading to this moment? The pearls, the staff, my bride, my entire life had transformed in mere days. That night, I sat under the moonlight, the pearls shimmering beside me, the staff resting against my shoulder. I had left home with nothing but uncertainty and returned with riches, power, and love. Yet my own question, the one I had sacrificed, remained unanswered. Had I done the right thing? Had I lost something greater than what I had gained? As if sensing my thoughts, my wife approached and sat beside me. "Letting go of your own question is why you received so much in return," she said gently. "Sometimes the answers we seek come when we least expect them." Her words settled deep within me. Life had always been cruel, yet by choosing selflessness, I had unlocked a fate I never imagined. The pearls were a symbol of prosperity, the staff a testament to wisdom, and my wife, she was proof that kindness had rewards beyond material wealth. I had set out with a heart full of questions, but returned with a heart full of gratitude. My struggles had not been in vain. The universe had been listening all along. I smiled to myself, realizing something profound. Perhaps in letting go of my question, I had already received my answer. As dawn broke over the horizon, I stood at the threshold of a new life. My journey had tested me, reshaped me, and rewarded me in ways beyond my wildest dreams. But the lesson remained clear. True greatness comes not from taking, but from giving. I had chosen to put others first, and in doing so, I had unknowingly paved my own path to happiness. With my wife by my side, the pearls in my hands, and the staff guiding my way, I stepped forward. No longer just a poor boy struggling to survive, but a man who had embraced his destiny.